This is a story about hikers who got hopelessly lost on a mountain in Japan. As it grew dark and cold, they built a giant SOS sign out of trees as a signal to any would-be rescuers. But, come on, that's just where the strangeness starts, because if there wasn't some weird things going on, do you think we'd be talking about it here on the Weird World podcast? I don't. Today, we talk about the Japanese SOS sign. Okay.
Hi, welcome to the Weird World podcast. I'm Carrie.
I'm Dean.
If you hear a little growly dog, that's Lily.
Barking around for no reason. Probably upset we're doing a podcast instead of paying attention to her, I imagine.
What is she barking at?
Who knows? No one knows.
Okay, well.
This is a story that I didn't hear to until not that long ago, and it's pretty amazing.
I know nothing.
It is plot twist heavy. Let me tell you that right now. So again, it's about a sign on the mountain that says SOS made out of logs. That's
sounds
interesting.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it does sound straightforward. It is very much not straightforward. It's crooked. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
All right.
Meaning the SOS sign is crooked?
No, meaning the whole story is crooked.
Oh.
So there's a mountain called Asahi in Hokkaido. It's a rugged mountain. It's in the Ishikari range. It rises about 2,291 meters, 7,516 feet. In central Hokkaido, that's the northernmost island of the major islands that make up Japan, as you know. Mm-hmm. It is the highest peak on the island. I think Dake, by the way, just means mount. So it's like Mount Asahi, like the beer company.
Okay.
I think they make everything else too. So Asahi Dake is one of the prime tourist destinations in the Daisetsuzan National Park. I listened to it. That's close enough.
Okay.
It is a relatively straightforward climb on warm and rainless days during the spring or the summer. You can climb up the mountain. There's like a rope. There's like ropes at the beginning, but then there's some trails, and it's not considered a super dangerous place to be. A lot of hikers do it in the spring and summer when it's warm. The mountain's native name in Ainu, the native people of Japan, is Kamui Muntara, which translates as the playground of the gods. It's pretty cool. But even though it's considered relatively safe, it can be a little dangerous for mere humans at times. For one thing, it is an active volcano.
Oh.
Still is. There hasn't been an incident, a volcanic event in centuries, but there are these steaming fumaroles that regularly spray out hot vapor and outgas all the time in various places of the mountain.
Wow.
They're actually one of the main reasons people go to see it. They're kind of an attraction for it. Go see the fumaroles. So 2 office workers from Otsuka Pharmaceutical in Tokyo came to visit the mountain in July of 1989.
Okay. I was wondering when you were going to...
That is when our story starts.
Set our time.
That is the start. You start your timeline? I don't see a piece of paper.
It's all up here.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good job.
July 1989.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to quiz you because
not a good time.
Why
in
not?
My life.
What happened in July 1989? The 20th anniversary of the first moon landing. Is that what you're thinking of? I'm just kidding.
No, my father died.
I know. That's what, according to you, made you an orphan, even though your mother is still alive to this day.
And I was 23.
Yeah, you're.
But other than that,
pretty close. Carrie thinks she's Annie.
I'm the world's oldest orphan
with a surviving parent. They stayed at the little inn at the foot of the famous mountain. It's got kind of like a hot spring inn kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And the next day was July 23rd. They told the innkeeper, "Hey, we're going to climb up Asahi Dake. We're going to see those steam vapors." Almost everybody there, I imagine. I guess there's other things to do in the national park, but for some reason they told the innkeeper that's what we're going to do. Okay, maybe just they're having ironically an Asahi the night before. They told him it's a beer.
I know that.
The innkeeper said, "All right, have fun." And again, this is like a day hike. It's not considered dangerous. The trail is more or less marked, and there are landmarks along the way to help you out. The most famous of these features that are used as kind of a guide is a huge square stone at the side of a trail up toward the top of the mountain. It's called Safe Rock because when you're up there and you're coming down from the top, you haven't gone down very far. If you go the right direction and see Safe Rock, okay, there it is. I can turn right. In fact, when I come to Safe Rock, I make a right And there's a decent trail that'll allow you to scale all the way down the mountain. It's pretty well marked eventually, and ultimately you'll reach like a rope station, and you follow out the rest of the way, the same way you started at that point. So it's considered a really helpful landmark. But Asahi Dake and the surrounding peaks can be a little fickle. Rains are known to sweep up from formerly cloudless skies and swoop down and pour down. And when this happens, the air gets cold very fast and even dangerously cold. In the past, some people hiking during the summer had actually died on Asahi Dake when these cold, wet rains hit. I know there are some dry rains. This happened to be a wet rain.
I was up on a mountain in the summer and it snowed.
Wow. What
you want to know
was
where?
It? Was this the Matterhorn? Was
Palm
it
Springs,
Himalaya?
California.
What?
Yeah.
Snowed. Wow.
We literally were wearing jeans and T-shirts.
Damn. You're lucky to be alive.
I know.
If that was Asahi Dake, you might not be alive.
That's when I was a child.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a lot of stories about your really
My weird
great
childhood.
parent. Yeah. So this rain it can be dangerous, and the cold can be very dangerous up there, and that's exactly what happened on the 23rd of July. Rains poured down suddenly in the middle of the day and drove everyone off the mountain. So in little groups of onesies, twosies, people started coming down. These would-be climbers said, "Forget it, we're going to head back down like you should," and they started coming into the hot springs inn to warm up and dry off. So hotel staff is really busy. They're trying to make their guests comfortable, but the head innkeeper, he managed to keep an eye out for those two young men from Tokyo. I mean, these were city men. They were, I need to keep an eye out for them. He was worried about them. He was right too. By 6 p.m., it seemed like everyone was off the mountain. The groups had stopped coming in. Everybody was down. It was still raining. Everyone, that is, except those two young men from Otsuka Pharmaceutical. The innkeeper looks for them, makes sure that they're not there. And finally, around 6 or so, he figures, I can't wait any longer. It's going to be dark soon. The night's going to be really cold with this rain coming in. So he calls the police. Mm-hmm. But by the time the rescuers kind of gear up and get ready, and they fire up the helicopter, they had a search helicopter. And I can't remember. It's a police prefecture that runs it, but I think there's like a mountain rescue team.
Yeah.
So they called it this mountain rescue team. It had the one helicopter, but by the time it got in place and can start the search, fog had rolled in over the mountain and had thickened up rapidly.
Yeah.
So visibility was terrible. And it's just going to get worse because night's on the way too. There really was nothing that they could do. The search would have to begin at dawn the next morning. But this meant those two men would have to keep warm somehow over the entire night. So at first light, July 24th, the helicopter soared into the air and began crisscrossing all over Asahi Dake. I imagine they focused on the climbing trails, the hiking trails and things like that, right? Where people would naturally be. But from what I read, they would just circled, buzzed up and down. They circled again and again several times. They're going up and down the slopes. Nothing. No sign of those two men. You think they'd be out there, right? If you hear a helicopter, you're going to run out there and wave your arms frantically. But if they did, they were unable to. The worst could be true. Or they didn't hear it, it didn't get close. It's a big mountain. So it's a big mountain, small helicopter. They did have ground searchers out there too as well, but they're searching around the known trails. And we'll find out in a minute why that didn't work. The sides of the mountain are mostly barren along the top. You see pictures, it does look, the top and a lot of the slope looks a little bit barren, but there are forests of spruce and fir and birch trees, and there's some marshy areas with creeks, and there's lots of areas of kind of like, scrub brush, kind of thick vegetation. One of those scrub vegetations is something called sasa, S-A-S-A. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It's a type of bamboo, but it's not, don't think anything like the long, thin bamboo. It's not like that at all. It's actually a thick, scrubby plant-looking thing, but what it does, it grows sort of horizontal with a slope. So it goes down a slope and the roots are up slope from where it grows. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it sort of points down the slope and it's very thick and very sturdy. So the helicopter's still up there looking for the men. again, thinking if when they're near trees, they come rushing out and wave their hands if they hear the helicopter. But a police officer who's on the helicopter, he has a good idea. He's a local guy, and he knows the area pretty well. He knows that every hiker is told about this safe walk, or at least you know about the safe rock, right? If if you're up there hiking, you read the pamphlet, so you know about safe rock. It's well known. They buzzed that trail already multiple times where you'd go from turning that right at Safe Rock.
Yeah.
He knew something about Safe Rock that many did not and was not in the pamphlets, at least not yet. Several years before this took place, there had been a flash flood, and it sent boulders tumbling down the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, one of those boulders was a second, very large, square rock, and it had settled just a fairly short distance away from Safe Rock. It looks
just
exactly like Safe Rock. Worse still, it was situated in such a way that if you veered a little bit off course, you would see what came to be called fake Safe Rock first before you saw the real Safe Rock.
Oh, well, they need to change their pamphlet.
They really do. If you did not know this bit of local news, though, and you did, again, you veered off. You come to Safe Rock, and then what happens? You make that right. Now, instead of going down a trail that leads to civilization and safety, you actually make that right turn, and you are going to go into completely unmarked, pretty rough wilderness. You're going to almost certainly become hopelessly lost very quickly.
Well, that's...
Hence the name Fake Safe Rock. It's a danger, isn't it? I think now they've got ropes or something like that. They need to put a sign up.
Yeah.
Huh? This is not the right one. Keep going. So this cop thinks, okay, I think that's probably what these two Tokyo office men did.
Right.
Let's go do that. So police got word to the helicopter pilots. Again, I don't know. In one version, I read this cop was on the helicopter. Or one version, he's down. He's just one of the searchers. He realizes this.
Yeah.
He says, oh, tell them to do this. So they got word to the helicopter pilots, and they found the fake Safe Rock, kind of swooped down, and then they sort of followed the route that they likely would have gone had they used this and gone the direction that the correct Safe Rock tells you to go.
Wouldn't you notice this isn't a trail? And
would you, though? I don't know. Hey, you make it right here. I don't think it's like initially make that right at actual Safe Rock. I don't think it's like a marked trail yet.
Yeah.
But you go down slope, and it's a fairly easy down slope, and then eventually you get marked trails and you hit that rope station.
Yeah.
So you just start to go down, and you're going down rough, and you think, okay, that's what we're supposed to do. It's just to go down slope here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think you'd know. I think you'd be surprised you wouldn't know. Or at least they were surmising that this is what happened to those two guys. So they follow that route, that likely route they would have taken. And then finally, now it's hours now into the search, right? There was a break. The searchers in the helicopter saw a sign, literally. Below them, in a little clearing amongst kind of a rocky scrub and kind of a marshy area, there was a huge SOS sign. It appeared to be made with trees used to form kind of squarish versions.
Right.
Think SOS. Think they're all straight lines, 5 for the S and 4 for the O and 5 for the S again. Mm-hmm. These 3 letters that were, of course, the universal cry for help. So the searchers go, okay, they're somewhere near. They radio, they're still buzzing around, but they don't see the guys. Maybe they're too weak. Who knows? The searchers in the helicopter radioed the coordinates of the SOS sign to the ground searchers and say, head on up there. We don't see them, but they must be nearby. So the ground searchers race up the mountain toward the SOS meadow, let's call it. They find the sign pretty quickly. It was made from birch logs, and they had been cleared of the leaves to show the white bark better against kind of like a brownish background. The logs had been cut down with an axe or a hatchet. There were 2 to 3 logs stacked atop each other to build each letters. Apparently better to stand out, right? But that also double or triple your work because you have to, you could do just the number of logs it takes to make the letters. They stacked them 2 or 3 high, or or whoever built this sign. By the way, every source says, they're stacked 3 high, but the math doesn't work because there were a total of 19 logs, and I figured it out. There would have had to be there were 5.
A lot more than that.
Go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, how did they make them stay on top of each other?
I don't think. That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they I don't.
Logs are
I know
circular.
they are. That I don't know.
You think they'd
Good balance. Just feng shui, even though it's Japan, not China. Never mind. I don't know. Each log was not quite a meter long, like maybe 2.5 feet, so not quite a meter, right? So that would make the top of the S, and then the next part of the S, and the middle part of the S, and so on, and same with the O. The O is basically really a kind of a square or kind of, and each log was also about 10 to 15 centimeters in diameter, which is about 4 or 5 inches.
Yeah.
So birch trees
not real big.
No, birch trees are not thick.
Yeah.
They're pretty skinny trees, but they are a hardwood. So it would not have been easy work to cut these things down. The whole sign was about 5 meters from top to bottom. So the bottom of the S and to the top of the S and so on. And it was about 16 feet. And it was 18 meters long from left to right, which is about 60 feet. So it's a big sign.
Yeah.
And indeed it was seen by the helicopter. Yeah. But again, the
Where
ground searchers get there and they don't find the guys either. They're searching all over around the area where the SOS sign is, and they cannot find those 2 city men from Tokyo. They figure, okay, it was night. They got cold. They must have gone somewhere to get warmer shelter than this open meadow somewhere. So let's spread out and search wider and further afield. So they do.
I'm assuming they have bullhorns and stuff in there.
They must. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. They're probably worried they're either dead or very weak. Yeah. Finally, it's 3:40 p.m.
Oh my gosh.
One of the rescues checked into like a cave has been described as.
Yeah.
It's about 1 to 2 kilometers or so from the sign. Again, you're going to hear a lot, like we always do in these kinds of things, where sources vary, which is super irritating.
Yeah.
You see, 1 kilometer up here. I think some said 3. Most people seem to say it's 1 or 2 kilometers away, which is a fair distance away. They were in this cave, but they were apparently seeking the warmth of a cave, which is pretty smart.
Yeah.
Also, the protection of a cave too. There, they look in this cave, and there they are. These 2 cold, hungry guys huddled together are there. Very glad to see their rescuers there. So the searchers help them out, and the helicopter lands. So they must have helped them to a clearing. I think they're still in pretty good shape. Their body temperature is very cold, but they're uninjured and they're okay. And so they get up onto the helicopter, and the helicopter takes off. And, the 2 guys are thanking everybody, and it's so nice. Apparently, someone told them what the police officer had said, and they said, yeah, no, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
We did. We were fooled by the safe rock. He was completely correct. We went down the slope. We got completely lost. We realized we weren't in the right spot. So we, thank God you guys found us. Worse still, they said there had been a flash flood, because remember it's raining, and that had knocked them over, and when it knocked them down, it washed away a lot of the equipment they had brought with them up the mountain. So they're in poor shape. I don't know if it's I guess, God, you probably need your canteen and food most of all, but they felt they had no choice but to await help and stay where they were, which they did, and it worked.
Smart, yeah.
So safely in the helicopter, the men start to warm up a little bit, and that they get to talk, and they talk about how they tell them, oh my God, we're so happy. We actually had kind of lost hope. We didn't really think, we were surprised that you guys found us, or at the very least, we were really surprised that you found us as quickly as you did. We didn't expect to be found here the very next day. So they told us there is a police officer, he's on the helicopter, and they tell us to the cop on the helicopter. And the police officer says, well, first of all, you really need to be thankful to is the innkeeper.
Right.
If he noticed that you were gone, that you had not come off the mountain, and pretty quickly at 6 o'clock, which is pretty early, he reported you missing. He called the police. It was very prompt. And the 2 men said, we're very grateful.
Yeah.
When we get to the inn, we'll thank him. We'll buy him an Asahi in all likelihood. But then the police officer said, and also don't forget, it was you guys. It was your own ingenuity that saved you. And I mean, if you hadn't left that clue for us, we would never found you. And the guys, one of the 2 rescued city guys from the pharmaceutical says, what clue?
What are you talking about? That's right.
And he says, well, that huge SOS sign on the meadow. We probably would never found you if we had not seen that. The 2 men look at each other, and the officer knows they look a little puzzled. And one of them turns to the officer and he says, what are you talking about? What SOS sign? They know nothing about this SOS sign.
So I was going to say, so all their equipment got washed away except for the hatchet or axe or whatever.
Well, The police officer's not thinking that. When he
Yeah.
thinks first, he thinks these guys are delirious. They're freezing
Oh.
cold. They just
don't remember.
Yeah, they
doing
don't
it.
remember, or they're just a little bit delirious. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
So he says, I'm going to help them out. I'm going to clear this up in a minute. They'd only taken off a minute ago. So he tells the helicopter pilot, says, hey, can you swoop back to the SOS sign real quick? So the helicopter dips back up, goes up to the marshy meadow where the sign is, and the police officer points down and says, that sign, see that? That giant SOS sign made out of birch logs. That's how we found you. The two guys look at each other again and say, I don't have to tell you, we swear to God, that was not us. We had nothing to do with making that SOS sign.
Oh.
So there's your first humongous plot twist.
Yeah. And presumably, is this meadow semi-well traveled?
Not at all.
By other hikers?
Not remotely.
Okay, so it could have been there for a long time.
Maybe we'll talk about that. Yeah. But now this is a pretty off the beaten track area for sure.
Okay.
So first of all, there's this shocking coincidence that two men found near an SOS sign had nothing to do with the manufacturer of the SOS sign. The officer, the searchers, and the helicopter are stunned by this news. But then the police officer realized kind of the other ramifications of this revelation.
Maybe somebody else needs help.
Exactly. So he tells the pilot and the other searchers in the helicopter, and they quickly realize, oh my God, if these two dudes from Tokyo didn't make that sign, someone else made that sign. That someone else is still on the mountain somewhere waiting to be rescued. Maybe
or
even
it was
still
done a
alive.
while ago and there's either dead bodies or they found their way off and just, what are you going to do? Go back and remove your sign?
Yeah,
You know
those
what
are
I
all
mean?
possibility. Yeah, that's true. No one had, but
Because that's why I asked. If somebody says, oh, last week I went by that
Yes.
meadow and there was nothing there, then
true.
they could narrow it down a little bit.
True. But if someone had built a sign, an SOS sign, and found their way down by other means, they would have told somebody that story about the SOS sign. So the searchers are thinking,
Maybe.
okay, someone else got lost. That wasn't. Remember, it was kind of remarkable. The innkeeper noticed that those two guys, he just happened to be thinking about them. And
Yeah.
he was worried about them. Somebody else who didn't talk to the innkeeper about what they were doing.
Right,
Then remember,
yeah.
those guys just happened to say, hey, we're going up the mountain tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to surmise that there's someone else up there who made that sign, maybe a little group of folks, and they had not been found yet.
Right.
But here's the thing. It's kind of the same situation as it was the day before. By the time they realize this, it's almost
Getting
dark
dark,
again.
yeah.
And night was descending. The light had already started to fade. So they thought, there's nothing we can do tonight. The people who had built that sign would have to spend a second night on Asahi Dake.
But how do you try to determine you can't really publicize, hey, does anybody know anybody
Yeah.
who
This is,
went
again,
up the mountain? And
1989, you couldn't put it
yeah.
on the internet. There's no,
Uh-uh.
yeah. So yeah, this is tough. So they figured we got to first light. So dawn the morning of July 25th, the rescue is on the ground, and again in the search helicopter set out for a second day. They probably had a little hope, though, don't you think?
Yeah.
They searched all over that area. I mean, they searched all over the mountain, but particularly around that sign. Because
Right.
remember, it took them a while to find those two guys. So if there's someone out there near that sign, they were not in a position to come out and say, help us.
Mm-hmm.
They had to be found. The way it was probably kind of lucky they found those two guys in the cave. Why they didn't hear people, the balloon,
Yeah.
I have no idea. Or the helicopter. Again, they were 1 or 2 kilometers away, so maybe they didn't hear the helicopter over the SOS sign, but it's interesting. You think it was 3:40 p.m. I am out of that cave
Yeah.
and back
Yes.
somewhere I could be seen at
Yeah.
at dawn or shortly thereafter. So that's unusual. I never did find out about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they hunkered down in that cave and stayed there. Especially a cave. Build a fire. I don't know. Probably can't.
Yeah, well,
They
we're
didn't
going to
have
build a
matches.
fire with.
Yeah, they didn't have anything. So the searchers are looking all over again. The SOS, retracing the steps, but also widening the search even beyond what they had done the day before when they found the 2 lost hikers from Tokyo. But call as they might, and I'm sure they did have bullhorns and that kind of thing, and search every crevice of anything, they find no sign of any person or persons that had built that sign. But then, pretty close back to the SOS sign, I've read 100 meters, I've read 300 meters. It's one of those or somewhere thereabouts. A searcher peered into kind of like a hollowed out natural cavity in the trunk of a tree. So think of a tree. You know how sometimes they have this in the bottom of it is just like a kind of a hole carved into one of the sides. You see that a lot. A searcher looked into that cavity and he spotted a backpack.
Oh.
And next to the backpack, he saw a skull, a human skull. So
no.
he also noticed, or at least somebody he probably went back and spoke to his fellow searchers, and people started talking. Well, you know what? We've been seeing human bones scattered here and there throughout this whole area nearby this tree, which is, again, very close to the SOS sign.
And just not mentioning it?
They're skeletal bones. They probably think they're animal bones. I'm assuming at first they must have thought they're animal bones. Now they find this human skull and they go, oh, shit. So they start going and collecting all these bones, many of which, by the way, had bite marks on them, but probably by a scavenger like a fox.
I was going to say, what kind of animals are up there?
There's fox, there's bears, there's pika. Pika's like a big ground rodent that lives in the mountains. So there is, but foxes most likely would have scavenged these remains or something like that. So they collect as many bones as they can, and they combine them. They realize these bones form the vast bulk of a human skeleton.
Ooh.
It was clear to the researchers that obviously the skull and the bones belong together. This is a single person. And they had been gnawed on by animals, but they hadn't been defleshed in a day or two by scavengers. That didn't make any sense. This was a skeleton, not a body.
Yeah.
It had been there for a while. It could not be the remains of the person who made that SOS sign.
Did they look inside?
Could it?
Did they look inside the backpack?
They did look inside the backpack. I'll get to that.
Okay.
The researchers went back to the broken tree and they searched the cavity for anything else besides the skull and backpack. And the first they noticed that it's barely large enough for a person to fit in. But the skull and the backpack said that must have been someone squeezed in here and sought shelter from it. And by the way, it depends on the source again. Some people say the backpack was found in the hollow. Some people say it was found nearby. I think it's almost certainly found inside the hole with the skull. Mm-hmm. But they found either in the hole or nearby. And again, I think all of these items I'm going to tell you about right now were found in the hollow. That just makes more sense. They found a tape recorder, 4 cassette tapes, some amulets, which I guess means necklaces, a tripod, men's basketball shoes, 2 cameras, and a few items inside the backpack, like personal items like soap and a towel, toothbrush, and also a notebook, by the way. You know what else is in the backpack? A wallet. You know what's in the wallet?
A driver's license.
A driver's license. Aha, that's going to help, right?
Yep.
Turns out the person in the tree was a young man named Kenji Iwamura. No one had reported anyone other than the 2 hikers as missing. So, and he was a skeleton, so the police naturally think, okay, let's check back. So they check back the earlier missing persons reports, and they do find Kenji, but they found out he had been declared missing on July 10th, 1984.
Wow.
That was when Kenji had gone up for a hike on Asahi Dake. By the way, had also told the innkeeper, hey, tomorrow I'm going to go for a hike on Asahi Dake. Mm-hmm. And he had never returned. Kenji Iwamura had been missing for 5 years, never found. Kenji. Let's learn a little bit about Kenji. He seems like a nice guy. He was 25 years old. Again, he disappeared climbing Asahi Dake, just like tons of tourists do every year. He was from the city of Konan, I don't know, Konan, in Aichi Prefecture on Hokkaido. So he was more of a local, and he worked there in a repair shop. He was an anime nerd, so I'm going to guess electronics repair shop. I have no idea.
How do you know he's an anime nerd?
Because he is, trust me.
Because anime people in Japan are not nerds, I'll bet you.
You're right. So he's a cool, hip anime fan. Like the 2 men from Tokyo, Iwamura had told the innkeeper again he was going on this hike the next day, and same thing happened. That happened to the 2 guys. That happened to Kenji. The innkeeper noticed they were missing and reported it to the police. In this case, though, the staff there at the inn didn't realize Kenji was gone until it was past due for him to check out. And they went to his room and they found his belongings still in his room. Here's the thing. This is another sources depend. Some sources say they realized it that night, but later that night, and so they checked his room, and I can't imagine he was due to check out that night. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So it was either that night, pretty late, or the next morning, where they went into his room, found all his stuff there, reported him missing to the police.
Okay.
So just like before, they had been the same kind of desperate search. They had ground and air searchers in the helicopter. No sign of Kenji was ever found. They also did not see any sign of a giant SOS sign, but more on that in a bit. First, Are you ready for another plot twist?
Yeah.
Good, because I have one for you. The bones from the tree and the skull from the tree and the bones found very nearby were taken to a Asahikawa Medical University, and there they were analyzed by staff. And staff there determined that the bones that were pulled from the tree had belonged to someone who's about 160 centimeters tall, was only about 5'2". I can never find exactly how tall Kenji was, but he was almost certainly taller than that. So that's a little bit of a puzzler. The person had typo blood. I don't know how they tell that, but the bones also showed injuries, by the way. It showed both a broken rib and a broken arm bone.
Oh.
So that's not good. And they showed one more thing. Wait for it.
Wait, not healed injuries?
No. Sources, again, some people say it could have been but the experts at the time thought these happened pre-mortem.
Okay.
The bones also showed that the person found in the tree near the SOS sign was
female.
a woman.
Yeah.
Yep. This was not Kenji
Kenji.
Iwamura. This did not make any sense at all.
Wow.
This was crazy. The body in the tree had Kenji's driver's license. His friend said, yep, those are his shoes. That's his camera. That's his backpack. That's his wallet. The cassette tapes had music from anime shows like Macross and Magical Princess Minky Momo, one of my favorites. And his friend said, that was so Kenji. He loved those shows. He loved anime. He would put music on tapes and listen to them.
Yeah.
So the body was not Kenji's. This is a woman. And there was no woman, though, reported missing that could possibly fit the body. They said, no, didn't make any sense. Even when they checked back records, past records for years back, they didn't find any woman declared missing that would have fit this skeleton. And even if it was a woman who had gone missing and she had died in the tree, why was he in possession of all these belongings that clearly belonged to Kenji Iwamura? Kenji Iwamura. Oh, it's not easy, Carrie. I'm struggling.
You could just say Kenji.
I'm going to say Kenji then.
Okay.
Then someone from the police force again had a bright idea. On July 27th, so 2 days after they found the skeleton, an investigator decided to listen to the tapes in their entirety. Apparently they just listened. Oh yeah, there's a song from Princess Minky Momo, whatever it was. So somebody said, you know what, let's listen to all 4 cassette tapes and see what we find. And on one of them, they did indeed find something very chilling. Taped over the anime music was a man's voice speaking into a tape recorder. The voice is kind of like, is purposeful, but it's also very terrified. The recording of the voice lasts about 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Most of the recording was spoken in this, like, I'll play it in a second, these disconnected, kind of overemphasized manner. He's almost screaming as if he's desperate to be heard and understood. So let's play the first part of that right now. So that was someone, perhaps Kenji Iwamura, desperately pleading for help on a tape recording that he's recording on the tape recorder that he has with him that we think was he took to play music while he was out hiking.
I have an idea maybe why he did that.
Why?
So that he could play that, but then it's not going to just be on a loop playing over and over again.
No, it wouldn't. It's clearly a desperate plea for help, and I'll tell you what it says. So it says, SOS, please help me. Like, again, I said that he was sort of disjointed. He's trying to super emphasize every single word.
Yeah.
I can see that for SOS, but he says it for extra words. Please help me. Again, it's in Japanese, so the syllables aren't going to match up with ours, but that's what he's saying. Did
he say it over and over again?
I can't find the full 217 anywhere. He says some other things in other parts because there's references to them in some of the sources, but I can't find anything on YouTube or whatever that plays the whole thing. You just always find that snippet, which is I think the beginning of it. So it says, here's what you just heard says, SOS, please help me. I can't move on the cliff. SOS, please help me. The place is where I first saw the helicopter. The Sasa is deep and you can't go up. Please lift me up from here. What we just heard, I don't think was all of that, but I read several translations of that. By the way, there are there's one critical mistranslation of that I'll tell you in a little bit. But so clear, it's a plea for help, and he's trying to guide people to where he is. We'll talk about in a bit why, but let's return to that Sasa and the reference I told you about a minute ago. It's this thick bamboo plant. The weird thing is there was no Sasa anywhere near where the bones were found with Kenji's stuff in that tree. Was Kenji's body somewhere else, hidden in the Sasa plant, a growth of Sasa? And here's where I'll tell you a little more about this plant. So again, they're thick growths. They do grow up kind of higher on the mountain, so higher above where he is. His location of the SOS is about 4 kilometers down from the mountaintop. There are some thick growths of Sasa higher above where this body was found in the tree. And they are downslope from the fake safe rock. That kind of jives. That makes sense. So you think, did Kenji take this wrong course and try to climb down the Sasa? Yeah. And then did something then stop him from going further down? And so I can't go any further. I'm going to head back up this growth of Sasa and go back to where I was and try a different direction, right?
Yeah.
But then when he tried to climb back up, he could not climb back up. Now that might sound weird. You think, how can you not climb back up? It's actually very well understood. Again, this is this low-lying bamboo plant. It grows downslope. So you can walk down it very easily. You're on top of it.
Yeah.
When you try to go back up, though, you just can't. You just can't get your footing.
Yeah.
It's so strong and tough that you're not going to be able to kind of force your way through. It's almost impossible for even an experienced, strong hiker to go up slope in a growth of Sasa plant. Almost impossible. In fact, going back to 1989, news crews, the story of the rescue was a big story, right, locally? So a news crew had gone there, and after the skeleton was found, after Kenji's driver's license was found, and after his reference to Sasa was known, one news crew just decided to walk down this Sasa, like, hey, maybe this is what Kenji did. A news crew, a reporter and like a camera person or something like that, got stuck. Could not climb back up the Sasa. They had to get lifted out by rescuers. So it's a real thing.
And so maybe the woman in the tree found his backpack somewhere.
Maybe.
And that's how it ended up there.
And his other stuff, a lot of stuff. That stuff I listed was not just in the backpack. It was loose.
Yeah.
So that's weird. That's a lot of stuff to be carrying. I don't think it was all in the backpack. It was out when it was found. So if it was all in the backpack, she could have taken it out. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
But if the bones were a woman, why is the recording clearly in a man's voice? And how does she get all of Iramura's stuff? If he's stuck in Sasa, she's not getting that. You wouldn't chuck the backpack with all the stuff in it out where this woman hiker could find it? And if she got into the Sasa with him, how does she get out of the Sasa when he could not? So people started thinking, maybe he did. Maybe he fell in with some solo female hiker, and they both went down this Sasa. And somehow she made it out, but he could not. If so, though, it doesn't make any sense, because why would he give this recording
to her
or on all his stuff?
Yeah.
Unless she stole it. I don't know. But again, no one had reported a woman missing. So it didn't make any sense that he had been hiking with a woman. His friend said, no, he for sure went by himself. So, but still, you could think, oh, maybe he met someone and say, hey, let's hike together. Or maybe he met a person lost and said, let's try to seek safety together. And they went down this Sasa growth. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. Those things are possible. And so, she somehow was able to make it down. He wasn't. His body's still up there in the Sasa somewhere, and hers was in that tree with his stuff. But are you ready for one more plot twist?
Yeah.
Actually, there might be more after this. It's possible the voice on the recording was not Kenji's.
I was going to say, did they play it for his friends? And
they played it for his parents, apparently. And they reportedly said, we don't know if that's Kenji. We can't tell. Now, this was reported just in the American press, like the AP, not in the Japanese press, according to one source I read.
Yeah.
But they said they can't be sure that was him. If that really was Kenji's voice, how could there be any doubt whatsoever from your parents? Now people start thinking, were there 3 people? Kenji, because it's all of his stuff, right?
Yeah.
A woman, because that's who the bones belong to, and she was found. And then a second man with him, or a third person in the little party, who made the recording.
Yeah.
This was getting really, really weird because
Mhm.
there was not a second man reported missing either. So 3 people, it seems like. None of them are being reported. Again, they went back to records. They knew now when Kenji went missing in July of 1984, there's no woman, there's no other man. Only
Yeah.
Kenji in that period was not found. So it doesn't make any sense. And now who made the SOS sign? The pathologist who examined the bones said that he thought the person belonged to bones, which would be too weak. This is a small woman. There's no way. I mean, it's tough work. I know their birch are thin, but it's tough. Even with a hatchet or just a small hatchet or an axe or something like that, it's hard work. They estimated that it would take a day or 2
Oh, wow.
to make the sign. And the stand of birch trees was about 100 meters away. So you got to go cut them down, 19 different logs, and you got to haul them back to the place and then stack them 2 and 3 up.
Did they find a hatchet in his belongings?
They have never found a hatchet anywhere on that mountain. So we'll talk about that in a little more depth too, for sure. But still, could maybe whatever say someone, the second man who I haven't found, say he had the hatchet, and say Kenji and the second guy, could they have done it? They could have. Yeah, they could have made that SOS sign, but they think that the skeleton that was found could not have. Although, who knows? I don't know how can you, from a skeleton? No, not strong enough. But you've hit on the head of the other massive mystery to this thing. Where's the axe? Yeah. No one's ever found the axe. They had to have some kind of cutting tool. There's no way you could do this. They're clearly chopped with a sharp tool, an axe or hatchet. Yeah. Nothing has ever been found. It's a huge mystery. Where is that? Why would you not? You have your tape recorder, your shoes, your tripod, your cameras, but you don't have the axe. That's you hope just saved your life. That doesn't make any sense. So also, some people thought, how did he know to do that? And how did he know to clean the vegetation off the birch trees to make them more visible? And they thought the cutting was very, just the physical ability to cut it. It read to them like this was an experienced woodsman who had done this, and Kenji was for sure not that. Right. Huge. So let's just kind of go through real quick before I'll tell you the story of what I think happened. Okay. The question. So we have these tons of mysteries and tons of questions. Why was there a man's voice on the tape? Why was this Kenji's belongings found with a woman's body? Why was no woman or second man reported missing? And where were they? Where were their bodies? Again, they had searched that. I mean, it's a big space, but still, they had very closely now searched that area. If that was Kenji on the recording, why did he make the tape recording like you surmised? Some people think it started automatically and he was just calling for help more generally. Some people think that he made it in case he lost his voice. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Or got just too weak and tired. Some people also think that he made it because he thought turning it up full blast would be louder than his voice. Yeah. Still, it's still a mystery. Before we give you kind of an idea of what I think probably happened, let's talk about that SOS sign for one more second, because one of the big mysteries is who built that sign. Did Kenji build it or not? Yeah. And so the question is, if the person who made that sign was healthy enough to make it the sign, the arduous work of making that huge sign, they were healthy and strong enough and had the energy to continue to walk down the mountain. Right. So it's weird. I mean, that's a huge mystery here as well. It doesn't make any sense. There was, by the way, a stream nearby. Remember, this was now a marshy area. It was well off the top. And so there was some streams nearby. And everybody knows you can follow a stream and eventually you're going to get something. Right. So they would have known that. And indeed, it's about 8 or 9 miles down from where they were. If you follow the stream, you would have found a little village. Yeah. The next thing I'll mention is when the SOS sign was made. That's another question in this case. So authorities checked satellite imagery. Oh. And they checked September 20th, 1987. They did it in about every 5 years. The local park authority would go and take some pictures and some satellite pictures. And I think I think it was just pictures from planes. I don't think it was satellite. Now I take that back. I think it was just the national park would take pictures of the area every 5 years, like a survey. Okay. And in September 20th, 1987, they had done a picture run. Mm-hmm. There it is. They saw the SOS sign in September of 1987, 2 years before those 2 Tokyo men were found. Okay. coincidentally, near the sign. They checked the 5 years previous to that, the late summer 1982, no SOS sign.
Okay.
The SOS sign had been made between 1982 and 1987, which fit in with Kenji in 1984. Yeah. But they hadn't seen it when they went searching for Kenji. For Kenji back in 1984, and they had never found the axe that he would have needed to make that sign. So there's still a lot of confusion.
Do they know for sure that area was searched for Kenji?
They saw it. Almost certainly it would have been. I mean, if they saw it from the helicopter in 1989, they probably would have seen it from a helicopter in 1984. You're right. It's possible they didn't. It's a big mountain, so it's possible they didn't. But it would have been even more visible with 5 years less of growth of moss or whatever it was back in 1984. So it is odd that they hadn't seen it in 1984 if it was there. So you're probably on some answers now, don't you?
Yeah.
We're going to work out a scenario here that answers most of our questions, and I say most advisedly because there's still going to be questions left. So first of all, was that Kenji's voice on the recording? Again, the parents allegedly said they weren't sure. I'm going to call bullshit on that. It was for sure Kenji.
Based on what?
Based on the one source says that, and it's a pretty good source, I think. It says that the American media reported the Japanese did not say anything of the sort. I'm thinking that was a miscommunication from American media, who were probably not even on the ground, probably relied on a local stringer, and that was just sort of a fake mystification. Or maybe, who knows, they may be just being, oh yeah, we think so, and that was sort of exaggerated.
Yeah.
It was for sure Kenji.
Okay.
There's no way. It's a male. He's the only person declared missing. All his stuff are there. Yeah. It's his cassette and his tape. It's Kenji. But was that Kenji Abamura found in the tree with all of Kenji's stuff? Can't be. It was a woman. The size also seems wrong. And then gender makes it completely impossible. But weirdly, everything else pointed to that being Kenji because it had lots of all of Kenji's stuff. Turns out this question is the easiest to answer. That's because a few months after the body was found, and they still had all these unanswered questions. I mean, this is 1989, right?
Yeah.
So, and the university hospital was asked to identify it. They identified it as a woman. They said, can you check again? We just made really, really sure. So they did. On February 28th, 1990, so several months after the skeleton was found, the university released their revised report. They said, our bad, it's a dude. That skeleton is a guy, and he has type A blood, not type O. I don't know. I'm assuming.
What do they do? Just give the wrong report or something?
Apparently, that kind of misidentification, even today, can happen. It's surprisingly imprecise. I've always heard it's the pelvis or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you haven't given birth, I don't know. It's not super obvious or something like that. Anyway, it's not unheard of, even modern times, for there to be these kinds of skeletal misidentifications.
Wow.
So that's what happened. It was Kenji all the time.
Okay.
We knew it was Kenji. So that was Kenji up there. We know he died up there. We know he had his stuff. So here's the likely scenario in my mind of how Kenji came to be in that tree. So he goes to the top of the mountain, like he says, right? Like everybody else, he starts down toward Safe Rock, and you hang a right at Safe Rock, and you follow the trail from that point on. Again, it's not super well marked, but you follow the slope down, and then eventually you hit an actual marked trail. Like those two Tokyo office workers, though, that would happen 5 years later, he just veers a little bit off the course. I've seen a diagram of it. If you just kind of shift to your left, you go off course. You're not going to hit the safe rock. You will hit the fake safe rock. That has to be exactly what happened to him.
So the fake rock had been there for more than 5 years.
People said it had been there for several years. I read so. That was only 5 years before this. So the fake safe rock was there. But it's probably even a more new thing in Kenji's time. So he knew nothing about it.
So they had plenty of time.
They really did.
To do something about that second safe
Although, remember, they never found Kenji and had no idea that's what happened to him. But it's almost certainly what happened to him.
But that one police guy or whoever knew about it.
He did. So. But maybe it wasn't. I think it probably just happened around the time Kenji. Remember, several years. I don't know exactly what that means, but 5 years. So it may have happened that year.
Yeah.
Or the year before. And so it wasn't generally known.
Yeah.
By 1989, it was more known. So the local cop was able to say, hey, I have an idea here. No one could say that back in 1984 because they didn't know about it. Mm-hmm. So Kenji gets to the fake safe rock. He makes that wrong turn. He's lost almost immediately. He's in pretty rugged, kind of a wilderness area, trying to just work his way down slope, down the mountain like he thinks he's supposed to. And eventually he'll find a trail. There's no trail down there. So that little bit of misdirection cost him his life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty minor too. Again, they must. I've read something that they have a ropes or something like that to keep you guided correctly. Now they should also put a big sign on that fake rock. So Kenji came to the false rock, and instead of heading west, he headed north into this wilderness. He quickly becomes lost, and he knows he's lost. He doesn't backtrack, I think, because he doesn't know where he went wrong. He doesn't know anything about the other rock. He thinks that was the right rock. I did what I was supposed to do. What do I do now?
Yeah.
I don't have any idea where there's a trail for me to hook up with. I don't know where I am. I've read that he had like a map with him, but if you don't know, that map's useless if you don't know where you are.
Exactly.
If you don't have a "you are here" sign, it's not going to help you very much.
The other dumb thing, hiking alone in a place you're not familiar with.
Well, again, it's not considered a super unsafe. It would have been nice to have help. Well, it happened to 2 guys from Tokyo. They would have died too had they not had someone not built that SOS sign 5 years before. They probably would be dead. So it is what it is. Which is the worst thing ever invented as a phrase because it makes no sense. But anyway, so he just knows that something's wrong. I've gone wrong. I don't know what it is. I don't want to go up the mountain. The one thing I know is I got to get down the mountain. I'm going to keep going down. So he keeps going down. He finally comes to a slope covered by this thick, low-lying scrub, this sasa plant. He's not familiar with sasa plant. Most people wouldn't be, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know. It's kind of a one-way street. So he heads down the sasa slope, thinking this will be, and it's pretty easy. You can walk on top of it very easily. And then he comes to some kind of a hurdle. I don't know what it was. It could have been a drop, a ridge. Maybe it was the slope got much, much steeper, and he thinks it's dangerous. I've got to stop. I'm going to go back up. I'm going to backtrack and start another route. We know he can't do that. It's impossible. He struggles. He wastes a lot of energy. He exhausts himself trying to climb up that sauce, and he finally realizes, I can't do it. I'm stuck. Now, he mentions a helicopter in the message, right? So when he realizes he's stuck and he's in the Sasa, it must have been some time after he got lost. It must have been the next day for sure. Yeah. At least the next day. I don't know how long. I've read that the helicopter wasn't allowed because it's expensive to search for a very long time, but it had to be at least a day or two.
Yeah.
So still, it's at least a day, maybe 2 days when he gets stuck in this Sasa. Let's assume it was the next day. He hears the helicopter because he mentions it on the tape, and it didn't see him in that Sasa. So he, spends a terrible night in the Sasa. And the next day, he's desperate, he's weak, he's hungry, he's stuck. He makes that recording. He decides he's going to make that tape recording. And I think the most likely reason, this is my thoughts on this, is that he is going to play this, I think, if his voice gives out.
Yeah. His
voice probably already felt hoarse. I don't think it was because, some people think it's because he was screaming because the helicopter was above and it had like one of those automatic turn on voice activation thingy. But that's for sure not true. You heard the audio. There's no helicopter in the background. You'd hear the helicopter. Yes. So that's not true. Yeah. Other people think, like what I mentioned ago, that, he could put it on blast and it'd be louder.
Yeah.
This is just your normal, cheap 1980s tape recorder. Yeah. It's not that loud. I think almost certainly he thought, if I can play this, because he's saying, I'm in the Sasa, come lift me out. That he was playing it for someone, if he heard like ground searchers nearby and his voice wasn't able, he'd be able, or he's just too weak to speak, he'd be able to. It's kind of poignant though, because of the reference to the helicopter. He says, the places where I first saw the helicopter. That means a helicopter had already swooped down close enough for him to see, and they hadn't seen him hidden in that Sasa. That's very sad. There's a translation, by the way, out there that says, he said, it's where I am where I first met the helicopter. That doesn't make any sense. That's clearly wrong. Multiple translations says where I first saw the helicopter,
that
right?
Makes more sense.
Think about it though. Regardless, that's not going to help anybody find you.
Nobody knows.
How they would have no idea what that meant if they heard that. But he just say, I'm in the Sasa. So if there was upslope, let's say he heard searchers, he could play that really loud. And if they heard it, they would look down, hopefully, and see Sasa and go, okay, so we can't see him. Right. But we know he's somewhere down there in that Sasa. Let's go find him.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is your theory that he died in the Sasa?
We'll see.
Okay.
You're trying to go ahead, Gary. You're trying
somehow
to jump
his
ahead.
body's got to get to that.
Somehow his body has to get down from the Sasa. You're right. So at some point...
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
Is the tree located Above the salsa
Below.
or below the salsa?
Well
Okay.
below the salsa.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, that makes sense.
The salsa grows. We don't know exactly what salsa growth patch he was in,
Yeah.
but it grows generally above where he was found. He was found 4
Okay.
4 kilometers down from the top in the marshy area. He was down a significant amount of the mountain already
Okay.
when he went into the tree.
Okay.
At some point, he realizes the helicopter hasn't been back for a while, right? He must have, okay, it hasn't been back. I haven't heard any other searchers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stuck. I'm waiting for help like he's supposed to. But if help's not going to come, what am I supposed to do? So he figures, hurdle or not, that stopped him in the first place. On the way down, he's got to risk that. So this, I think, is when he injured himself.
Mm-hmm.
What it was, again, did he jump down a cliff? Was it climbing over a ridge again, or was it the slope got super steep?
Yeah.
Whatever it was, he takes a fall. He takes a bad fall. He breaks a rib. He breaks an arm bone. He probably was bruised and cut and scratched too. We don't know because the skeleton didn't have any flesh on it, but he was probably pretty badly hurt. But he had no choice. He has to risk it. And desperate people can do desperate things. So he gets himself up. He's hurt, but he struggles down the mountain a significant distance, where he reaches this kind of marshy meadow area. And I don't know, was he too exhausted now to go any further? Did he see the birch trees, these skinny little trees, and he's got a hatchet with him. So the little hand hatchet, let's say, in his backpack at the time. I know it's not found there, but let's say it is.
Yeah.
And he says, I've got an idea. So he fashions those birch logs into a sign, and he has to cut them, clean them, and drag them 100 meters. He's injured, exhausted, hungry, dehydrated, although there was a stream there, so maybe he was able to drink some water. But if so, what happened to that axe? Why?
Seems like it might be pretty hard to do all that with a broken rib.
And a broken arm.
Yeah.
Think about that.
You're doing it one arm.
I know it. Maybe, I don't know, the axe could be explained like maybe he left it somewhere. Maybe he left it somewhere and forgot it even. And years later, or is it they've never been found? Or years later, some other hikers,
just
2 years later,
picked
just
it
said,
up.
hey, someone left an axe. I'll take that. Cool.
I know I broke a bone and I fainted just after taking a shower.
You broke a bone skiing on white powder, the softest white powder.
That's not relevant.
In the history of
Afterwards,
skiing.
once you have the broken bone, just sitting on the bed.
I've only broken finger bones, so it's not the same.
So I think your body kind of, but we also know people with broken bones do miraculous things,
especially
to save
when
themselves.
When your life's on the line. Yeah, you can do things.
My life wasn't on the line.
There's another thing I thought of too. What if he stumbled onto, like, some group of hikers had cut down a bunch of logs because they were going to do some overnights there.
Yeah.
And just left a pile of birch logs.
And they were already
cut already, ready to go. I'm not saying that's likely.
No.
It for sure it doesn't happen, but never know. So he somehow is able to fashion this SOS sign, and he just waits near it. He's hoping, he's praying, he's huddling to stay warm. He is in an area, as I mentioned, though, where no one goes. There's no trails nearby. He's 4 kilometers down from the top of the mountain. People are always at the top of the mountain, but he's a long way from that now. It's this marshy area. So as I mentioned, he probably has access to water, but he's getting hungrier and hungrier by the hour.
Yeah.
His body is probably starting to shut down. He knows the night is going to be bitterly, bitterly cold again. He's got to go find shelter. He can't stay out by the SOS sign for forever. He can't stay that through the night. So Kenji searches the area, and he finds this little group of larger trees. I don't know exactly what tree it was, but it clearly wasn't a birch. It was a bigger tree that has this sort of natural hollow in the trunk, and he figures that's better than nothing. Setsuzan National Park is home, by the way, to Japanese brown bears who can be occasionally very aggressive to humans. They have killed and eaten humans in the past. Sadly, though, is no longer home to the Ezo wolf, also called the Hokkaido wolf, which was exterminated purposely by humans with strychnine in the late 19th century because, at the behest, by the way, of an American who was brought over to help them learn ranching techniques. Thank you, America. You wiped out
what
this
we do.
phenomenal animal. He figures also the hollow is probably defensible.
Yeah.
But mainly it's a place to warm. He can huddle back there. It's got
yeah.
some shelter from the wind, and if there's going to be rain, so it's a little bit warmer. So he goes in, he squeezes himself in there, he pulls in. I'm going to say the backpack was almost certainly in front of him, and he hunkers down to spend another cold night out in the wilderness, and Kenji was just never able to struggle from out of that tree again.
Yeah.
He's found 5 years later. His SOS sign, which was missed when he went missing, incredible coincidence, saves the lives of 2 people that he never knew. Our last mystery, and I'll let you go. Was it Kenji who built that sign? To me, this is still the greatest mystery. The axe is the greatest mystery, but it dovetails with this, whether it was him at all. We know the sign was made between 1982 and 1987. But again, Kenji has no axe. No axe has ever been found. In my mind, it doesn't seem like he would have an axe. He wasn't a mountain man.
Right.
I mean, you have a tripod and you have cameras. It's a relatively safe day hike. Are you really going to bring even a hand axe with you?
Yeah.
You could have, but I don't know. It seems odd.
Next time I go for a hike, I'm taking an axe.
Now, for sure, just in case you have to make an SOS sign. He was almost certainly injured by this point. Almost certainly, because again, I'm speculating, but I think is vastly most likely that he got injured getting out of that sasa. Something stopped him from going further down. That's something he thought was too dangerous to do. Again, let's say it was a cliff. He had to do it to get down. His body wasn't found in the sasa. He did get down. We know he got out. You only can get out by going down, not up.
Right.
That's when he was injured. So he's now he's supposed, like you said, he's supposed to be building chopping down 19 logs from, I know they're narrow, but they're very hard wood.
Yeah.
And with broken bones, including a broken arm bone, with a mystery hatchet he probably doesn't have. But he does have the strength to do this. He would have had the strength to continue down the mountain. If you're just thinking at all straight, are you going to sit there and wait and do a arduous task to build this SOS and then wait there, or are you going to try to continue down the mountain when you do have a stream nearby?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It seems weird. Some people said, well, but wait, he's an anime fan, right? Turns out, in an edition of the manga and later anime series Astro Boy, there is a scene where Astro Boy, or maybe it's not be Astro Boy because Astro Boy is an android, but someone uses trees and cuts them down and makes a giant SOS sign to be found. So people say, okay, he's a huge anime fan. He would have seen it in that. But the question is not that Kenji would know to make a giant SOS sign, it's if he actually did. And I don't think so. Also, would the helicopter have that search for Kenji 1984 have missed it? Possibly, but that's another point against this being made by Kenji. So even if they did miss it, the sign, if the rescues at the time missed the SOS sign, there's so much against it. I think the most likely reason they missed the SOS sign in 1984 is because it wasn't there yet. And we only know it was there by the summer of 1987, 3 years later. So could a group of hikers or a hiker have done it in 1985 or 1986? It's just that they weren't reported missing.
Right.
If so, that hiker or hikers was never found. So the final mystery is, if it wasn't Kenji who made the SOS sign, who was it and what happened to them?
Yeah.
So far, we don't know. There may be another skeleton or skeletons with an axe in their hand somewhere up there unfound.
And it's too much work for some anime fan to do it because they saw it in an anime.
I've thought about that is someone do this as a hoax? If so, it would have been before he was found, before the two Tokyo hikers were found. It has nothing, right?
Yeah.
And that just seems weird.
Yeah.
Or just, doesn't even have to be anime fans. I mean, it could be because that's what they read it in Astro Boy or something like that. But are just messing around. It's a lot of work if you're just sort of messing around and you don't tell anybody about it and no one sees it.
Right.
No, only reason the helicopters are buzzing around there is because they were looking for a missing hiker in 1989 and again in 1984. So that's a possibility. I don't think so.
Yeah.
It is weird though, because you come to that conundrum, and that conundrum, by the way, that mystery is generalizable to anybody, is if you have the energy to build that kind of a giant sign from logs you are chopping down, you have the energy to keep going. Why stay there? Why do you think that's your better option, is to stay there with a giant sign?
Yeah.
If you're stuck there and there's no way down, I get it. But there was a way down. You
Yeah.
could have followed. Now, they could have thought, okay, who knows where that stream bed goes? And we'll just be wandering and wandering and wandering. And if we're
Yeah.
too far from the mountain, they'll never look for us. So it's possible.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was Kenji. I think it was someone a year or two later.
Yeah.
And they've never been found. Interesting.
It is.
That is the story of the Japanese SOS sign.
Interesting.
I thought so too. I did. I hope you enjoyed it, listeners. If you did, tell us. We'll put, if we can find a clip of the long recording, we'll put it on. But we'll put on there's some pictures of the SOS sign. There's a picture of Kenji. There's some picture of the backpack and all the different belongings, a little worse for wear. So we'll put some pictures of that on. I have not been able to find the full 2 minutes and 17 seconds.
Okay. That's
Just
okay.
a short snippet of it.
Japanese anyway.
Still, if I can, I will.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thanks, Dean.
Thank you.
Thanks, listeners, for listening.
See ya.